Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. The leader of the RMT trade union, the Railway Workers Union, is Mick Lynch. He is a hypocritical, two-faced fool. He sits there and week in, week out, for nearly a year now, he has been having general strikes on the railways that cause grief and remove people's ability to move. It's an inconvenience. It's costing people jobs. It's that bad. And he's doing this because he wants to ensure that his members have a good and fair pay rise and better working conditions. These are marvellous things to try to achieve, of course, but it's very hypocritical, as I say, when at the same time as you're doing this for your members, you're treating your employees abominably. You're removing their jobs, you're cutting their pay, and you're making their working conditions far worse. Why would you do that while you're trying to have strikes to improve the pay for your members? You're not setting a very good example, are you? But then this is Mick Lynch. He's a Marxist, he's a hate-filled individual, and he thinks he's going to win. Well, you can't win if the money's not there, matey. Anyway, we'll take a look at this article to see why and what they're doing to these poor people who work for the RMT. Here goes. So, the RMT union leaders are branded hypocritical as they try to slash jobs and pay among their own staff. The union faces a revolt from catering and office staff at its National Education Centre, and I think they may go on strike. And you've got to say, it would be a bit of a taste of their own medicine if the RMT are on strike, and meanwhile their own workers are also on strike against them. And who would blame them for doing it? They are absolutely two-faced, aren't they? So, RMT union leaders were branded hypocritical yesterday for trying to slash jobs and pay among their own workers. The Daily Mail can reveal the strike-backing rail union is facing a revolt from its catering and office staff at its National Education Centre in Doncaster. And the row is over proposed job cuts and the reducing of allowances, such as for travel to work, which means some staff face a real terms pay cut. So the railway workers are out on strike trying to get a pay rise. Meanwhile, they're imposing pay cuts on their own workers, who I hope will come out on strike just to show them that they mean business and say, look, pay us the proper wages or we are going on strike until you do. What's the RMT going to do? Is it going to fold and say, well, if we don't, then the government, or rather the employers, the train companies, will just point to us and say, well, look, you're not paying them more, why should we pay you more? So they've got to pay them more. Or if they do pay them more, they've then got the case of they'll come back in and work, and they say they can go back to the unions, go back to the train companies and say, look, we're paid, our people come out and strike, we paid them more. And the train companies will go, that's fine, that's your choice. We're not going to pay you anymore. They're in this position. They can't do the right thing. And it's great when this happens. Anyway, affected staff, represented by the GMB union, are threatening to go on strike. Quite right too. In an extraordinary comment showing how bitter the union v union spat is, the GMB said last night, members working at RMT are standing up for their rights. This is one union striking against another union. The TUC Congress this year is going to be a civil war, isn't it? You're going to have union versus union. Simply, how dare you not pay our members, a proper wage while you're on strike looking for another proper wage? But there he is. There's Mick Lynch, a Marxist, a crypto-Marxist. Well, he's hardly crypto, is he? He's a complete outright Marxist. And he's obnoxiously going, I want more money for my men, who are already massively overpaid, because he thinks the more he can get, the better. Meanwhile, the public are sitting there, can't get to work, can't get to hospital, can't travel, it's inconvenient, things like that. He's driving people and transport everything onto the road system. The more they use the roads, the less people are inclined to go back to the rails. So he's effectively going to be ending up putting his members out of work. And that's a great move. The more of them we can get out, the more you can hire that are non-unionised, the better. Anyway, the RMT has called more than 20 national rail strikes since June last year in a row over pay. It also claims job losses, below inflation pay rises and plans for efficiency savings are unacceptable. Oh, they are acceptable. You are imposing it on others, so you find it completely acceptable. Secretary-General Mick Lynch has repeatedly accused industry bosses and ministers of wanting to rip up our members' conditions in order to save money. Well, that's what you're doing with them. So why is it good enough for you, but not good enough for your employers? You see, this is the problem you've got when you go on a path of self-destruction like this. You're saying that what they're doing is unacceptable, but when you do it, it is completely acceptable. Deary me, Mick Lynch, you hypocritical two-faced bubble. Tory MP Greg Smith said, "This is a highly hypocritical position. It is surely a wake-up call to the RMT about how life works in the real world." Whilst they are demanding ministers pay their members higher wages, their own staff are being looked at through a real-world lens. This might wake them up to the realities of their eye-watering pay demands. This week, the GMB and RMT negotiators will get around the table. Yeah, but you don't know what's going to come out of this. It's going to be... I think they will strike. I'd love them to strike. It would just be super. It is understood that the dispute over proposed job losses may have been resolved, and the talks will revolve mainly around allowances. It's always going to be money, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's always money. The National Education Centre is where members learn about being workplace reps and help with the running of the union. Last month, the RMT sparked fury by targeting the busy start of the school holidays with strikes. Around 20,000 members at 14 train companies covering most of England will walk out on July the 20th, 22nd and 29th. Yes, well, let them. Let's everybody just never use trains. Let's all stop using trains. Start using coaches and buses and things like that. And just let the trains fester. And then the train companies will just fire all the train drivers, try all the train staff, get rid of them, and then start up a new company and say, yes, but it's not unionised. There's no unions. You know, I agree that there should be unions. I agree that unions should be there and should have power, but not misusing the power. And Mick Lynch is an absolute hypocrite. Another dispute with the train drivers' union, ASLEF, continues today with the start of an overtime ban for 6 days running in England. An RMT spokesman acknowledged the dispute but claimed there'll be no job cuts or pay cuts at the education centre. Well, that's a lie, because they've already said that they're going to be cutting allowances, which is a real world pay cut. Oh dear, the hypocrisy of the left. The Marxist, look at him, the Marxist, the nasty piece of work that would happily do unto others but would not accept it for himself. So typical of Mick Lynch and the RMT. Anyway, I shall stop there and come up. Now, Mick Lynch has brought his members out many times over a whole year and has still not achieved his goal of the pay rise. What he's basically done is bought them 20 days holiday. But it's unpaid holiday, so I hope they don't mind. How long do you think they'll keep it up? Who knows? The bosses are not going to capitulate, and they're certainly not going to capitulate to that nasty piece of work. If he genuinely wanted a resolution, he would have found one by now. So it's clear that he doesn't want a resolution, he just wants to flex his muscles. Unions are fine, unions are great, they protect workers, everyone gets it. But you can't use them as a battering ram, let's put it that way. Mick Lynch would be better suited having a different kind of strike. Run the trains as normal. Absolutely run the trains as normal. But don't collect fares. Let them run up and down and let everybody, the public, have free travel every time they do it. The public would be on his side then, and the bosses would be pulling their hair out. And that's all you need to do to win. Don't upset the public, upset the bosses. Do your job, run a full service, don't charge. That's how I see the quickest resolution to any problem with something like this. And you've got the public on your side. Anyway, I shall round off there. Thank you very much for listening. If you like what you hear and see on the channel, please hit the subscribe button. Leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and where possible, use private transport. Goodbye.